what's that?
Yeah, no, like I had this urge to like burst out laughing. I was scared, right? I just kept praying, and then you know what I mean, locked it away. Like, and then one night I had a dream. It was like I heard someone screaming. I was in the living room and I heard someone screaming for their life. They were like screaming, like, "Get me out!" Like screaming. This is exactly what I heard in my head. You're gonna get scared. This is exactly what I heard in my head.
I need to show you guys a video that I saw the other day, and just wait. So the video is coming from mermaidmom_3. She has not posted anything like paranormal or scary or spooky before this or even after this, unless she has, and I'm just like, I haven't seen it yet. Let me show you the video.
This is just randomly going down the stairs with nobody here. Do you see this? No, it started from the top.
That's weird. If that thing flies across the room.
If this thing flies across the room, I'm moving out.
It's really cold over here.
It's cold?
No,
it stopped. It stopped.
No, I'm not done. Maybe like a little movement could have caused that blanket to come down. When she says, if this thing flies across the room, I'm moving out. Why did it stop when she said that? Does it not want her to move out? Why was he saying it was cold? I hope he was lying. Something so subtle like that scares me. It scares me. Also, me with stairs, it's you know what it is? It's The Exorcist. I will never forget that fucking scene. Like, traumatizing. But anyway, it could possibly just not be paranormal, like I said, but it's still very freaky to think about. What do you guys think?
This is a scary story about I'm Sorry Mommy. One night, a woman was in the kitchen reading a newspaper when she suddenly looked up and saw her 6-year-old son staring at her. She said, "Something wrong, dear?" "I had a nightmare," said the boy, "and I can't sleep." "Well, don't worry, you're safe now," said the mother. "I dreamed I was in bed and heard a sound in Daddy's room," he said. "And when I looked in the door, I saw 2 big black things with white eyes. It came out of the closet and it attacked Daddy." "Don't worry," said the mother in a soothing voice. "It was just a dream. It didn't really happen." The boy then continued saying they ripped him into pieces and then ate him after. "And they even licked the blood off the floor. I thought if I ran away, they wouldn't catch me. But they did. They were going to eat me, but they stopped and said, they wouldn't eat me if I promised to..." "To what?" said the mother. "Promise to distract you while they creep up behind you." "I'm sorry, Mommy," said the boy as the mother heard the floorboards behind her creak. The boy then watched with enjoyment as his mother was ripped apart piece by piece, with a giant smile on his face.
Celebrity chef and host of Worst Cooks in America, Anne Burrell, was found dead in her New York home this morning, dead at the relatively young age of 55. If you don't know who Anne was, she was the host of one of America's most popular food shows, Worst Cooks in America. Side note, I was actually cast on this show a few years ago. They flew me out to New York City. I got to meet the cast that ended up filming that season. Now, they did end up replacing me and then flying me out back home. I never made it onto the show, and I never got to meet Anne. But if I would have been given the chance, I would have loved to have competed. Anne was born in 1969 in New York. She discovered her love for food at a young age. She attended various culinary institutes before moving into the restaurant world, and eventually she made her way into television, and finally at one point was cast in the starring role in the television show Worst Cooks. Now, just 5 days ago, Anne posted this photograph on her Instagram, and strangely enough, she looks glowing. She looks incredibly happy and healthy, and an official cause of death has not been released yet. I couldn't find any information about this anywhere, and so it's really unknown exactly what happened here and why it happened. But Anne is definitely going to be missed by all. RIP to her. And yeah, if there are any more significant updates, I'll be sure to hop on and make another video for you guys.
Now, I'm a little iffy about even playing this video. So before I show you guys this footage, I need you guys to like do a little quick protection prayer. All right, you did it? Great. Let's roll the clip. I just want y'all to know that they're saying that they saw the body move. Some people are saying they didn't see it. Some people are saying that they did see the body moving. They're now pulling the kid out of the grave. Everybody's running. It's getting real.
Sauce, the boss in the building.
Y'all see how this is like everyday life? But when we come on here telling y'all this happens in our culture, we ain't lying. It happens. However, I do want to say that this does not represent the entirety of Haiti. Not everybody does black magic. Not everybody does witchcraft. In Haiti, it's basically like half witchcraft and half Christians. And by that video, it seems like this was some kind of scandal. And I had a lot of those growing up in Haiti. So many scandals, like black magic scandals. I already told y'all about that one time that lady slept with this guy and they went to sleep on the same bed and she woke up and the guy had turned into a snake and wrapped itself around her and wouldn't let her speak or nothing. Bro, there are so many things. Like,
I suffered PTSD over this experience. I couldn't sleep for a week. I was petrified to work my job, but had no choice, and this day still haunts me. Years ago, I was working for a company as a person who measures houses. Most people haven't heard of it. It's where you essentially have an iPad and you go to people's homes and draw up floor plans and measure rooms for carpet, hardwood flooring projects. Anyone can request one. I was 25 female at the time, one of the few females that work this position. I was actually really good at the job, so they gave me a lot of work, and I usually hit between 10 to 14 houses a day, driving all over multiple towns. This house was my last house of the day, in the middle of nowhere, and I was exhausted. When I got there, I was incredibly annoyed because the customer wasn't home and was late for his appointment. 10 minutes later, he pulls up next to my car. He was a middle-aged man, balding, wearing a normal office job attire with a tie and everything. He seemed a bit awkward, but was apologetic and let me into his home. Upon entering the house, it was unbelievably spotless and organized, minimal furniture, and smelled like cleaning supplies. It didn't strike me as odd at first. He had 2 cats lounging in the living room. He mentioned, "Wow, my cats love you. They don't usually take to strangers like this." But his cats literally didn't move or come near me the whole time. I just nodded and smiled. All right, hon. Like, I'd be like, fucking weirdo. I just nodded and smiled while I got to work, scaling out the master bedroom on my iPad. He started inquiring about the electronics I was using. Do they keep track of where you are on that thing? Immediate red flag. She was like, yes, and my boss knows how long each job should take based on the scope of the work. It's incredible technology. I lied without missing a beat. He agreed it was amazing.
Who else,
Be
man?
careful. Don't touch the gun in the nightstand. It might go off, he chuckled. Talk about immediate spine chill. I looked up from my iPad, and sure enough, there was a handgun on the nightstand. I knew instantly that I needed to behave like nothing that was happening was triggering alarms for me. He directed me to the second bedroom, and he said the exact same thing again, warning me of a gun on the nightstand that indeed was there. This was the moment I knew I was in danger. At first, I thought it was just my anxiety around guns, but at this point, the tension building between us was undeniable. There was only 2 bedrooms on the scope of the work. I hastily met up with him in the kitchen and began running down the next steps, but he interrupted me. Can you measure the basement stairs? I forgot to add them to the list, and I think I might want to carpet them.
About you, and it's no one else like you is what they're getting. Positive vibes only. Shout out to King Saul's boss in the building.
Saying no. He led me to the basement door.
I'm pretty sure I encountered an actual skinwalker. So this happened a few years ago in Pennsylvania. Keep in mind, y'all, Pennsylvania is full of wooded areas. So this story happened at night, and it all started because she had to take out the trash. So because it was nighttime, I of course volunteered to help her because she lived in a townhouse. So if you know anything about that, you know that the dumpsters, they're not in front of your house. You have to like walk a little bit to then throw out the trash. So it was in its own designated area, and that of course being right near the woods. So anyways, this night in particular was very foggy, which made it very hard to see. And y'all, I remember when we were walking to the dumpster, it was quiet, but it was an uneasy quiet. You know, like usually you would hear bugs, insects, but this time, nothing. So we're at the dumpster, and I remember getting this weird feeling, and I told my cousin, I was like, can you please hurry up? Because at this point, I want to go back to the house. I'm over being out here. And y'all, of course, after I said that, that's when we both see this small black cat appear out of nowhere. And one thing about my cousin is she loves cats. So I guess she probably thought this was her sign with the cat distribution system. So she decided to follow it. And y'all, that little thing went into the woods. So I obviously, one, wasn't going to leave her alone. And two, wasn't going to walk back alone. So I decided to follow her. So we had our flashlights on our phones following the cat. And I remember at one point, the cat like ran between these two trees. And what's really crazy is that when we looked over to see if the cat was there, it wasn't. And yo, where we were standing, there's absolutely no way we couldn't have not seen where the cat went. So the fact that we couldn't see where the cat went freaked us both out. On top of that, this cat led us so far into the woods that we ended up losing connection on our phone. So we couldn't call anybody. So we're standing in the middle of nowhere. It's foggy, it's night, and the only light that we have are our flashlights. At this point, I'm aggravated. So we proceeded to trace our steps in hopes of not going further into the woods. And y'all, when I tell y'all, this is when it got so crazy. So something call my name, but I asked my cousin, I was like, yo, did you just hear that? She goes, no, it's probably your mind playing tricks on you. Oh, okay. Okay. Then about 5 minutes later, we both now hear the voice of someone calling my name, which sounded like my cousin's mom. How in the world did her mom walk out into the woods? There's absolutely no way, right? So that's when my cousin yells, Mom? Big mistake, because we instantly start hearing the bushes around us start moving as if this thing is coming closer to us. So at this point, I'm freaking out, and I tell my cousin that we need to run because that is just not your mom. That's when we hear the voice say, come over here. That's when I decided that it's time to book it. And when I tell y'all, we ran like we had never ran before. Like, I consider joining track after this. Now, y'all, as we're running, we start to hear stomping and loud crunches from the leaves that are on the ground as it's getting closer to us. I still remember that as we were running, I turned my head for 1 second, and y'all, whatever was chasing us wasn't human and wasn't a damn animal. Maybe my mind was playing tricks on me, but y'all, it was massive. And when I saw this thing, I started screaming like there was no tomorrow. So we finally make it back to the dumpster, and we turn around and it just isn't there. Nothing. So what's crazy is that the next day we go out into the woods when it's sunny out to see if there were footprints or something, like a trace of something left behind, but there was nothing. But I swear to you, whatever it was just not human. It wasn't from this earth, and I still wonder to this day, what would have happened if we did not run?
This woman's dead body wasn't found for 42 years. A woman named Hedviga Goldic sat down in front of her television in her modest Croatian apartment, and sadly never got up again. She died alone of unknown natural causes in the quiet solitude of her home. No one heard her fall, no one came knocking, and so time moved on without her. But what makes this story truly unsettling is what happened next, or rather what didn't. Hedviga's body remained completely undisturbed for the next 42 years. For more than 4 decades, her remains sat in that same chair in front of the same TV. As dust settled, curtains yellowed, and life outside continued as if she had never existed. Neighbors assumed she had just moved away. It wasn't until 2008 when authorities attempted to clear what they believed was an abandoned property that they made the haunting door. They were cobwebs or rats, but by the chilling sight of a woman long dead, staring blankly at a TV screen that hadn't flickered in decades.
This is the chilling final photo of this woman sent minutes before vanishing. This is the disturbing murder case of Anne Faber. It was the 29th of September 2017. Anne Faber was a beautiful 25-year-old woman from the Netherlands. She was described as passionate, intelligent, and warm. She really liked to keep active, and on the day in question, she was on a bike ride. This was on the holiday park Horsterwald in Zeewolde. Now, during her bike ride, probably the most annoying thing ever happened. There was a massive downpour of rain. This really scuppered her plans, and she had quite a good sense of humor, so she decided to snap a photo and send it to her boyfriend. At around 6:50 p.m, he received the photo and would never hear from her again. Alarm was raised after Anne failed to return home that day. It was getting darker and darker, thicker and colder, and obviously had been really rainy, so her concerned family alerted police. They were absolutely frantic by the end of the evening. Loved ones all began desperately searching the area, but there was still no sign of Anne. Police began a thorough search for any kind of clues as to her whereabouts, and on the 3rd of October, a worrying discovery was made. It was Anne's coat. We all know that it was raining at the point that she vanished, so why would she have taken her coat off? It just didn't make sense. And then 2 days later, another concerning discovery. It was Anne's bike. Then days later, her backpack and clothing were found. Investigators really knew that the chances of finding her alive now were very slim. Anne had been missing for an agonizing 2 weeks when her body was finally discovered. She'd been murdered. Police sent her clothing off for DNA analysis and matched it to a 27-year-old man. This was Michael Ponhouse. Now, Michael was in the area for being convicted offender. He'd been held in a psychiatric institution in Den Dolder and was being prepared for his return to society. This was after a long prison sentence. He'd actually been sentenced to 12 years in prison in 2012 for R-ing 2 random teenage girls in 2010. Now, in the Netherlands, ex-offenders receiving treatment at psychiatric facilities are required to have constant supervision outside of the facility. However, infuriatingly, due to some so-called privacy laws, Michael was allowed to withhold the fact that he'd been convicted of such a brutal crime. And for this reason, he was infuriatingly not seen as a threat to society. The facility actually allowed him to leave without supervision, and he even had access to his mum's car. Shockingly, he'd been allowed to leave the facility that day on his own when Anne was on her bike ride. Michael did admit to killing Anne, forcing her into the woods and SAing her before brutally ending her life. And shockingly, due to a legal loophole, it wasn't classed as murder. In the Netherlands, murder has to be defined as intentional or premeditated, and Michael basically argued that he only killed her when she screamed for help. Therefore, he was only convicted of qualified manslaughter and sentenced to 28 years.
Today I'm going to be reading scary babysitting stories, and I really hope you're not watching this while you're babysitting. But if you are, it's okay. None of this is going to happen to you. You're fine. I babysat for these 2 little girls, and more than once they'd say they saw something in the other room, but there wasn't anything there. They were like 3 and 6, so I feel like they weren't old enough to trick me, but they were really insistent on having seen a person in the other room. The family I babysit for lived in an older house from the 60s. After I went to bed, I was chilling on the couch watching Game of Thrones. I had my headphones in and it sounded like someone calling my name. I took them off and checked the kids, but they were both sleeping. That happened a couple of times, and eventually I stopped. Chill, it only happened once and never again, but a couple of times. I was babysitting these 2 girls, and once I had put them down, they kept calling my name, and they'd tell me when I got there that something was wrong. I went in, and one girl asked if I saw the cat in her window. She was saying that the cat's face was still there, but I saw nothing. I babysat twin girls last summer. I put them to bed upstairs and went to watch TV in the living room across the hall. As I left, looking into the pitch black, I heard a deep voice yelling downstairs. I went downstairs thinking maybe the parents had come home early, but no one was there. I still don't know what that was. It definitely sounded like it was coming from inside the house. There's so many stories. I'm just gonna read them all to you. Recently, I was babysitting brothers and they were both knocked out asleep. Music started playing in their room at around 1 a.m. from their mini record player. But when I looked, there wasn't even a record in the plaything. They slept through all of it. When my little brother was around 6, my mom went out to a birthday dinner. When I went back to go check on him, he was standing in the middle of the room talking to his open closet door. I asked what he was doing, and he said he was talking to his friend. The worst part about that is that she lives there. That's her brother. I was babysitting my cousin, who was 3 years old at the time, when he suddenly started singing the Itsy Bitsy Spider, but with a few lyric changes. It went something like this: the Itsy Bitsy Spider climbed up the water spout and pushed Mama off, then the sun came out and ate Mama's body. What the fuck? Listen, as long as it wasn't you and it was mom. I babysat this 3-year-old, and every time I babysat him, he'd ask me to check the closet where the screaming comes from, which was at the end of the hallway at the back of the house and was always locked. I literally stopped babysitting him because I couldn't stand it. I babysat him like 5 times and then I was out. I was babysitting for my neighbor, and right before I put them to bed, the youngest, who was about 3, asked me if I had made sure the door was locked. I reassured her that I had, but she seemed really scared, and it seemed a little odd that a 3-year-old would worry about that. So I asked her why she was scared, and she said, because that's how the scary people from the dreams get inside. Imagine if that was like a premonition or something. When we were kids, my little brother room at night. He would be fine in there during the day and okay with the rest of the house even once it got dark. But for like a year, we just about shared a bedroom because he was too scared to sleep alone. When I would ask him about it, he would say that there was a little boy in there who would talk to him sometimes and keep him up. He said the boy liked his toys and always wanted to play with him. Once we were in high school, our parents told us his room used to be a boy's room who died in the bathtub. They didn't ever tell us because they didn't want to freak us out. Cool, but like he was seeing the little boy. Who else is never babysitting again, especially not at nighttime?
Hope y'all got y'all snacks, because this is part 2. So they're about to leave the hospital and mom calls. Husband looks at the phone and he's like, interesting. What husband didn't know was that the healer made it so that thing reversed instantly. It didn't take hours. It took a couple of minutes. So he picks up the phone and he's like, hello? Mom is on the other end like, hey son, I'm not feeling good at all. I think I might need to go to the hospital. Mind you, he got her on speaker, so wife heard that. Well, Carolina heard that. And they look at each other and husband goes, yeah, what's wrong? Like, what happened? Mom is like, my stomach is killing me and I'm throwing up and I need somebody to come and help me go to the hospital. Husband is like, oh, really? That's funny, because I'm in the hospital right now with Carolina for the same thing. And mom goes, oh my gosh, it must be like a stomach virus or something, like because we had dinner, maybe like some of the meat was bad. Just trying to come up with excuses to try to hide the fact that she tried to poison and playing with her yet, because it's like, how could you even do this? So he's like, yeah, must have been, but she's all good now. She's perfectly fine now. And that seems to kind of shock mom. You can hear it by her voice, but she tries to play it off. But clearly they already know what's up, so that didn't like go over their heads. And so mom is like, are you gonna come pick me up so we can go to the hospital? And husband is like, nah, why don't you call the person that helped you poison my wife? I'm sure they can help. Mom instantly starts crying, like she's boohoo sobbing on the phone. And she's like, how could you accuse me of such things? I know we had a rough past, but I've been trying. I've been putting in the work so we can come together as a family. And this is pissing husband off even more because he already knows the truth. And she's trying to play it to make it seem like he's a bad person. And at this point, he's angry. So Carolina's like, just hang up the phone, babe. Because she can tell that her husband is visibly getting angry. And so husband goes to mom and he says, you know what? The healer that helped my wife from your poison, when I asked him to reverse it, maybe I should have let it kill you just like you tried to kill my wife. And he hung up the phone. When I tell you, jaws were dropped to the floor, even Carolina couldn't even believe that he just said that to his mom. Although Carolina pain, she felt bad because she never asked for any of this. She really just wanted like a strong family support system. Unfortunately, no matter how hard she tried, mother-in-law just didn't like her. And at one point, she just stopped trying to please her and just stopped trying to get her to like her because it's just not going to happen. And at this point, mom is blowing up husband's phone. Now, because husband knows that this is going to pass, he's not going to actually die from it, he's not answering. But she's like, his phone. And so they get their dish, they leave. And husband tells Carolina, I'm going to drop you home and I'm going to go to my mother's house. Carolina didn't fully agree with this, but it's his mom. What can you really say? So she's like, please be careful. Because at this point, we don't know what she's capable of. Before he left to go see her, they prayed together. She made sure that they prayed together before leaving. Husband left, came back, didn't say what happened between them. He just said, we're never speaking to my mom ever again. Until this day, he has yet to speak to her. He really was strong. He was really serious about that no contact. They have yet to speak since then.
This American woman is not as innocent as she looks. In July 13, 1954, in Indiana, Ima Hogg kidnapped 2 of her own children, who were taken from her and were given to her ex-husband. She had lost custody of them because she wasn't able to provide for them, and doctors had diagnosed her as mentally unstable. So on that day, she went to her ex-husband's house, disguising the visit as just checking up on her children, but she had a much more sinister plan. The husband, Charles Druler, opened the door and invited her in to see the children. What happened next would haunt the town forever. She waited until the children were asleep, then convinced Charles to share one final drink to let go of the past. Moments later, he collapsed to the
About
floor,
you, and it's
knocked
no one
unconscious.
else like you is what they're getting. Positive vibes only. Shout out to King Saul's boss in the
Days
building.
turned into weeks with no sign of them. Months later, the police tracked her to an abandoned shed deep in the woods. Inside were 2 small coffins, each sealed and written on them, "Safe with Mother." The coffins were opened, and what was in there is the stuff of nightmares. Ima was found.
Sauce the boss, yo. Sauce
and
the
the
boss, of
words
course.
were, "I will meet them in
50%
heaven."
the sauce.
Could you imagine having twins just for them to turn out to be your worst nightmare? Y'all better have your snacks. Hey, snacks. English is hot. Anyways, y'all better have y'all snacks ready because it's scary story time. For today's snack, we have the same one. It's Cars sweet and salty mix. It's like something, I don't know. Anyway, so there's this wife and husband, and they're it's their first baby, and they're so excited about it because they have been trying to have a baby for like a really long time. When they found out, like everybody rejoiced, their family rejoiced. Then they find out that they're actually having twins. So it's even better. After years and years of trying, not only do they get 1 kid, but they get 2. Everyone is so happy for them and they're getting prepared. They're buying, getting the nursery ready, all of that. So fast forward to the wife being 8 months pregnant. So one day she goes to the market because she's about to cook. As she's in the market, she's shopping and she sees this seller that keeps staring at her. She doesn't really pay it any mind because she's a pregnant woman. People stare, especially when you're pregnant with twins, right? Because she's huge. But that seller happened to have the exact type of spinach that she wanted to buy. So she goes to the seller and she's, asking how much. The seller doesn't even say hello. The seller immediately asks her, "When are you due?" And the wife is like, I don't even know if I want to tell you that now. Seller tells her, "I'm trying to save your life. When are you due?" That kind of took her by surprise. And she's like, okay, you know what? Maybe I don't need the spinach that bad. She starts to walk away. And the seller asks her, "Are you due on this and that date?" And it was the exact date that she was actually due. And mom turns around like, "How do you know that? Who are you? Like, why are you questioning me right now?" The seller looks at her and goes, "You don't even know what you're in for. You're the child of Dambala." Now, if y'all don't know, Dambala is a serpent god, known to be one of the most evil entities to exist. Mom immediately gets mad. Be mad too if somebody told me the children I'm carrying are of Dambala. At this point, mom is going off. The wife is going off on the seller. The seller's like, "I apologize. I didn't mean any harm, but you should know. I understand you're mad and I understand nobody wants to be, somebody to talk bad about their kids. But I'm telling you the truth and you need to get protected now. You need to do something now because Dambala has already put their hands on your twins. I understand that this is not what you want to hear right now, but you will know that I'm telling the truth because your children, your twins, will be born under a full bloody moon." At this point, mom is calling her crazy, all types of crazy, mad, and she leaves the market. Like, she don't even want to shop no more. She leaves. She goes home. She explains to her husband her interaction today at the market. She also speaks to her mom about it. Now, her husband is like, "That was just some crazy lady. She don't know what she's talking about." But the moment she told her mom instantly got scared. Her mom is like, "We should do something about this. We should listen to her." And the wife is like, "No, we're not going to listen to her because if we listen to her, then that gives what she said power." And mom is like, "But what if what she said is true? That's nothing to be played with. You may not even make it through birth." Wife don't want to hear none of that. She dismissed her mom. Now, a little bit of time goes past, maybe 2 to 3 weeks, getting prepared to give birth. And then wife finds out that the day that she's supposed to give birth is going to be a full bloody moon.
Imagine catching eyes with somebody as you sit in your car in the middle of the night, then later finding out they had just killed your family member. This is the horrifying case of Lily Sullivan. It was a cold winter's night in December 2021 in Pembrokeshire in Wales. Lily Sullivan was a beautiful 18-year-old girl described as kind and really caring by her friends and family. Her Her mum, Anna, before she had Lily, she tragically suffered 14 miscarriages before having Lily and was just absolutely overjoyed when Lily was born safe and sound. The family couldn't believe their luck. She was literally like their little miracle. But Lily's life would be cut tragically short at just 18. Lily was a sociable girl. She loved getting glam and going out with friends, and she did just that on the night in question. She'd gone to a nightclub with a group of friends and, unfortunately for her, met a man called Lewis Haynes, who was a 31-year-old oil refinery worker from the area and took a liking
about
to
you,
Lily
and it's no one
despite
else
having a girlfriend
like you
at
is
the
what they're
time.
getting.
They left
Positive
the club just
vibes
a few
only.
minutes apart, which was
Shout out to
captured
King
on
Saul's boss in the
CCTV
building.
footage, but Lily already had prior arrangements to go and meet her mum. Lily was not prepared to go back to any lad's house. She was sticking to the plan that her mum would drive to meet her. Around 2:47 a.m, Lily's mum rang her from the car from the meeting point, asking why Lily wasn't there yet. Lily started to say that she was on her way, but then the call mysteriously disconnected. Lily's mum was obviously really confused by this. She tried to call her daughter back, but had no luck. Little did she know, this was the moment Lewis would force himself on Lily after she refused his advances. Terrifyingly, a local resident nearby heard a woman scream. Lewis forcibly removed Lily's top as she tried to protest and tell him that she would report him. He then callously strangled her to death. Meanwhile, Lily's poor mum was ringing her continuously, a total of 30 times. She was desperately trying to get through, and I think in that situation, you would just be panicking so much, you would just be desperate to hear your daughter's voice. She sat in her car nearby to collect her daughter, having no idea of the horrors that had just unfolded. And actually, just moments later, Lewis walked past her car and looked her dead in the eye. She had no idea she just locked eyes with her daughter's killer. Lewis actually apparently went home to his girlfriend at this point and admitted what he'd done. Lily's mum was still out frantically hunting for her daughter until about 4 a.m. But sadly, in the early hours of the morning, Lily's body was found.
Sauce the boss. It's his birthday. Everybody wish him happy birthday.
Oh, this is big right here, y'all. Everybody
man.
wish Sauce,
We're back once
the
again.
official boss.
You know, it's a beautiful
Birthday,
day.
man.
If you
Let's
feeling
go.
down, just
Let's see it in the
get you a
timeline.
bag of that. Just
I like
up. King Fire,
I like
Mr.
the-
Head Ride.
I
King
like the
Green
wish.
with two, only the third eye. Killer Vision, PSER, Rent Hospital. Let me on this track. Accident to
wish.
operas.
Sauce the boss.
Unconscious. Flow riding on my
Happy
train.
birthday.
Denzel, Chris Pine,
I like to give a big shout out to Ashley Gordon. Let's see somebody say Ashley Gordon. Charlie Fields.
Therefore, I'm flying off the tracks. Extraterrestrial blunt, I got it on my lap.
I like how
When
that
land,
sounds,
Soul train line, hop up on my deck.
I like to give a big happy birthday to
I forgive them cause they
Sauce
don't
the
really
boss.
know no better. Hope let them walk
Feel
on
like
water.
we
Visit
the
in the
rooftop or
middle
something,
of
you know what I
the
mean?
Atlantic Ocean with a polo sweater.
I like to give a big shout
How
out to
bad
Benny
do you
Chapo.
want success? I was holding my breath.
The official
Unconsciously,
capo.
the conscious me woke up and came up for air.
Shout out
I
to
turned
Sauce the
136
boss,
to
man.
the
Happy
bumper, they
birthday.
dancing with chopper,
birthday.
guaranteed them in the dreams. Fight
don't
miss,
quit.
Mr. Clean,
So
dirty
shit.
talk, come shots, Listerine. The devil tried to catch me slipping, but my
Break it
third eye
down.
open. I see when I don't know. 40
What are you talking about? Really being held captive. Okay? It is a hostage. My fault. The beats is blasting. The beats is beating. Got some shit to unbox because you know we have new decks on the way. Wait, new waves for the play bay. Tell them to go play with their mother. Coño, pero yo.